Patience is the discipline of vision. It is the invisible foundation beneath all meaningful success, the steady hand that holds your dreams while the world tests your resolve. Too many people confuse patience with passivity, assuming it means sitting still and waiting for life to reward them. That's not patience, that's resignation. Real patience is power restrained. It is focused energy, fully aware of the goal, completely committed to the path, yet undisturbed by the time it takes. It's the decision to pursue the long game, even when the short term doesn't satisfy your ego. When you truly understand your vision, what you want to build, who you want to become, you stop chasing shortcuts. You stop falling for instant results. You understand that anything worth building takes time. And not just time. It takes faith, grit, and the ability to delay gratification when everyone else is jumping at the next trend or temporary comfort. A patient person isn't weak. They're powerful beyond measure because they've tamed the hunger for validation. They don't need to be seen winning today because they're preparing to win for decades. Most people never achieve what they want because they never develop the ability to wait with purpose. They jump from one plan to the next, abandoning seeds that were just about to break through the soil. They get discouraged when the results don't come fast enough, not realizing that real rewards come to those who can plant, water, and keep showing up, even when there's nothing to show yet. The future belongs to those who can persist without proof, those who can labor without applause, those who can trust the process when the world only respects the outcome. Patience is what separates those who dabble from those who master. It's easy to start a new habit, launch a new business, or declare a new goal. But can you stay consistent when the excitement fades? Can you endure the boredom of routine, the frustration of setbacks, the loneliness of silence? That's the real test. Patience doesn't just keep you in the game, it deepens your commitment. While others burn out chasing instant gratification, the patient person is busy refining their character, sharpening their tools, and getting stronger while no one's watching. There's a force in the universe that respects timing more than talent. You can have all the ambition, all the intelligence, and all the skill in the world, but if you lack patience, you'll sabotage your own future. You'll quit too soon, you'll chase shiny distractions, you'll make emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. Patience gives you emotional leverage. It allows you to think long term, to act with intent, and to detach from the noise of comparison. You're not trying to keep up. You're building something they can't copy, because they won't wait long enough to understand how you did it. Every vision will be tested. The bigger the dream, the more resistance it attracts. And in those moments, it's not your passion that will carry you, it's your patience, because passion can fluctuate. Motivation comes and goes, but patience is a decision. It's a muscle you build every time you choose to keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Every time you resist the urge to rush, every time you stick to the plan instead of chasing the latest trend, you reinforce the foundation of your future. We live in a culture that worships speed, fast money, fast fame, fast growth. But anything that comes quickly can vanish just as quickly. It's the slow growth that lasts. It's the compound interest of consistent, patient effort that creates unshakable success. The strongest trees grow the slowest. The tallest buildings take the longest to construct. If your vision is deep and wide, your patience must match it. Because without patience, you'll never allow your vision to mature. You'll dig up your roots before they can anchor you. You'll rush the process and end up with something shallow, something temporary. Patience is the evidence of belief. If you truly believe in your goal, your mission, your calling, why would you rush it? Why would you doubt it just because it takes time? The impatient mind is a fearful mind. It wants proof, control, and validation, but the patient mind operates from power. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. It just keeps building, brick by brick, day by day, regardless of the noise outside. That's real confidence. That's the kind of quiet power that eventually shocks the world. People will tell you to move faster, to catch up, to pivot. But you have to know the difference between movement and progress. Not every step is a step forward. Not every opportunity is aligned with your vision. Patience gives you the ability to say no to things that might feel good now, but would cost you later. It protects your focus. It refines your standards. It keeps you from selling out your future for a short-term win. While others are addicted to urgency, the patient person is addicted to excellence. The person with patience will always outlast the person with intensity, but no endurance. Because life is not a sprint. It's a series of marathons. It's easy to be excited for a few days. It's another thing to remain consistent for years. Patience is what carries you through the silent seasons. It's what allows you to keep planting when the soil looks dry. It's what builds your future in the dark, before anyone sees the result. And when the results finally come, they're undeniable, because you didn't rush them. You built them with care, with integrity, with time. The world is full of talented people who never made it because they gave up too soon. They underestimated the time it takes to build something real. They traded greatness for convenience, but not you, because you understand the hidden law. Patience is a multiplier. The longer you're willing to wait while doing the work, the greater your return. It's not magic. It's maturity, and the mature builder doesn't panic when nothing happens. They understand that the seed must die before it sprouts. That vision must be tested before it manifests. Every time you choose patience over impulse, you elevate your thinking. You stop operating from fear and start operating from wisdom. You stop chasing quick wins and start designing lasting success. And eventually, people will look at what you've built and call it genius, not realizing that what they admire is not the outcome, but the patience it took to get there. Growth happens in the waiting, the moments where you feel stuck, unseen, or unsure. Those are not wasted moments. They are the crucibles of transformation. They are the secret workshop where character is forged, where wisdom is earned, where patience transforms into power. Most people miss this truth. They assume that if they're not moving fast, they're not growing. But true growth doesn't always come with applause or external signs of progress. Sometimes it comes in silence. Sometimes it feels like standing still, but deep under the surface, roots are spreading, strength is forming, and the foundation is being laid. Think of the seed buried in the soil. It doesn't scream when it starts to grow. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't post updates. It simply pushes downward before it ever rises upward. The root must anchor deep before the tree can rise high. And in that dark soil, the seed begins its quiet, powerful transformation. The same thing happens to you when you commit to your dream, when you declare that you want something greater from life. Life doesn't hand it to you. Life tests you. Life hides your progress so that you are forced to focus on the process. And only those who endure that season, those who embrace the waiting, are the ones who rise unshakable. Waiting refines you. It reveals who you really are. Anyone can act strong when things are going well, when the results are flowing and the crowd is cheering. But who are you when no one sees your effort? Who are you when you've done the right thing but the reward is delayed? That is where inner strength is developed. That is where the future is forged. The waiting season is where the distractions fall away and your values are tested. It's where you're given a choice: quit and start over, or stay and become someone you've never been before. We live in a world obsessed with speed, where hustle is praised and rest is shamed, but rushing is not the same as growing. You can move fast and go nowhere. You can chase 100 things and master none. Growth isn't about speed, it's about depth. It's about what you're becoming, not just what you're achieving. And that becoming process is slow, quiet, often painful, but absolutely essential. You don't build emotional strength overnight. You don't develop wisdom in a weekend. These things come from time, repetition, and reflection. They come from the waiting. The waiting tests your ego. It forces you to sit with uncertainty and still take action. You don't wait by doing nothing. You wait by preparing. You wait by growing in the dark. You wait by becoming the person who can handle what you've asked for. That's the hidden truth no one tells you. Most people are praying for things they're not prepared to manage. They want success but can't handle pressure. They want wealth but lack discipline. They want influence but haven't mastered their own emotions. And so life holds it back, not to punish them but to protect them, because if you're not ready, the blessing becomes a burden. Growth in the waiting is not a delay, it's a divine setup. It's an invisible classroom where the lessons that actually matter are taught. It's where you learn resilience, faith, consistency. It's where you learn to show up when you don't feel like it, to work without recognition, to lead yourself without needing external validation. This kind of internal leadership is rare. That's why so few rise to greatness. They're not willing to endure the silent seasons. They're addicted to noise, to feedback, to fast returns. But the ones who grow in the waiting, they're the ones who eventually carry weight, lead movements, and leave legacies. In every story of success, there is a chapter of struggle, a chapter that doesn't get posted, doesn't get praised, but without it, there would be no breakthrough. That chapter is the waiting season, and if you're in it right now, don't despise it. Use it, let it shape you, let it strip away what doesn't serve you. Let it prepare you so that when the door finally opens, you don't just walk through it. You dominate it. You fill the space because you've earned the right to be there. You didn't skip steps. You didn't cheat the process. You showed up. You grew. One of the most powerful things you can do in life is embrace slow growth. It's not glamorous. It doesn't feed the ego, but it builds a foundation that lasts. You're not just trying to make a moment. You're building a life, and that kind of construction takes time. It takes quiet mornings, late nights, relentless repetition. It takes fighting off comparison, staying focused, and believing in a future that only you can see. That belief is what fuels you in the waiting. You're not wasting time. You're investing it. Every day you keep showing up is a deposit into your future. Waiting is not weakness. It is wisdom. It's choosing to build before you broadcast. It's choosing to become before you announce. The world is full of noise, but what the world needs now are people who are deeply rooted. People who aren't swayed by trends, who aren't distracted by attention, who are building something so solid that even storms can't shake them. That kind of person is rare, but that kind of person is forged in the waiting. They know that what's growing inside them is greater than what's happening around them. The longer you're willing to stay focused without applause, the more dangerous you become. Because now your energy isn't dependent on hype, it's driven by purpose. Now your discipline isn't situational. It's part of who you are. That's real power, and that power is grown, not gifted. It's developed in the late nights when you feel like quitting. In the mornings when no one notices, in the seasons when progress is invisible, that's when you're being shaped, that's when your foundation is being poured. It's not visible yet, but it will be undeniable later. Eventually, the day will come when the growth that happened in the dark becomes visible in the light. People will see the fruit, but they'll never understand the root system that made it possible. They'll admire the results, but they'll never grasp the patience, the pain, the perseverance it took to wait and still grow. That's the price of mastery. That's the silent sacrifice that leads to greatness. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You just need to trust that your future is being built every single day you choose growth over gratification, preparation over performance, purpose over panic. That's the power of waiting. Impatience destroys momentum. It doesn't just delay your progress, it derails it entirely. In the mind of the impatient, every delay is a failure, every obstacle a reason to quit, and every waiting season is interpreted as punishment rather than preparation. The truth is that momentum is one of the most sacred assets you have on the journey toward any meaningful goal. It's what carries you when motivation fades. It's what pushes you through when logic says stop. But momentum is fragile. It must be protected, and nothing threatens it more than the reckless urgency of impatience. When you let impatience take control, you start making decisions based on emotion instead of purpose. You react instead of respond. You chase speed instead of sustainability. You look for hacks instead of habits. The result, you might feel like you're doing a lot, but you're actually going nowhere. You spin your wheels in the mud of overthinking and impulsive shifts, wondering why you're not gaining traction. Momentum is built in consistency, and consistency requires calm. It requires the discipline to stay the course even when your feelings scream for a change. Impatience fools you into believing that something is wrong just because it's taking time. It whispers lies like you're behind, you should be farther along, this isn't working, until you give up on the very thing that was working. The dream doesn't die from lack of potential. It dies from lack of patience. The plan doesn't fail because it was wrong. It fails because you didn't give it enough time to unfold. Momentum is slow at first. It begins as small steps, repeated in faith. It's a quiet rhythm of progress that doesn't show off, but when honored, it multiplies. When disrupted by impatience, it collapses. You've seen it happen. People start strong, filled with enthusiasm and vision, but the moment progress slows, they start shifting plans, changing strategies, doubting their path. What they don't realize is that each shift resets the momentum they were building. Every time you start over, you lose ground. You lose rhythm, and that rhythm is more valuable than adrenaline. A person moving slowly in alignment will always surpass the person sprinting in confusion. Direction, not speed, is the true measure of progress, but impatience blinds you to this truth. The seduction of fast results is everywhere. Society glorifies the overnight success, the viral moment, the rapid scale. But what they don't show are the years of invisible labor that led up to that moment. They don't show the nights when nothing made sense, the days filled with self-doubt, the seasons of silence. The people who made it didn't get there by rushing. They got there by maintaining momentum in private, by staying steady when everyone else was pivoting in panic. They understood that consistency compounds, that pressure creates diamonds only when you stay long enough for the transformation. Momentum is built through integrity with yourself. When you say you'll show up, and you do. When you promise yourself to commit for the long haul, and you honor that promise, even when no one is watching. Each act of follow-through is a deposit into your momentum account, but impatience is a withdrawal. Every time you allow frustration to decide your next move, you're spending momentum you haven't yet earned. Eventually, you go bankrupt. You lose the internal alignment that was moving you forward, and you start chasing progress that isn't rooted in anything real. There's a rhythm to progress, and it cannot be rushed. It's like trying to grow a tree by pulling on its branches. You don't accelerate growth that way, you damage it. The same is true for your goals, your business, your personal development. If you try to force results before the foundation is ready, you end up creating instability. Impatience makes you vulnerable to distraction, to shiny, object syndrome, to quitting just before the breakthrough. It robs you of the compound benefits of persistence. It keeps you starting over again and again, confusing activity with progress. The most successful people are not always the most talented. They are often simply the ones who stayed consistent long enough for the momentum to take over. They protected their energy from the sabotage of urgency. They understood that slow is smooth, and smooth becomes fast. That discipline, not drama, builds dreams. They didn't let impatience disrupt their inner compass. They stayed locked in, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. It takes humility to be patient. Impatience is rooted in entitlement, the belief that you deserve results now simply because you started. But the world doesn't work like that. It rewards those who are willing to become the kind of person their dream requires. That becoming takes time, and if you interrupt that process because you're uncomfortable with delay, you abort your own growth. You keep your future small, not because you weren't capable of more, but because you didn't wait long enough to access it. Momentum isn't always visible. Some of your greatest breakthroughs are being built beneath the surface, behind the scenes, in ways you won't understand until later. Just because you can't see the movement doesn't mean it's not happening. Impatience tells you nothing's working, but if you've been consistent, if you've been showing up, then something is happening, energy is building, patterns are forming, lessons are being learned, connections are being made. The question is, will you still be there when it's finally ready to reveal itself? Success is not a straight line. It is often a long, winding road filled with tests, detours, and delays. But each step, each repetition, each seemingly small act of consistency is building something powerful. And when momentum hits, it won't feel like a spark, it will feel like a wave, but you'll only ride that wave if you've built the base, if you've stayed faithful in the boring, unimpressive moments. That's where the magic really happens, not in the breakthrough, but in the moments before where you chose patience over panic. If you truly want to master your path, you must learn to silence the voice that says hurry. That voice is not your friend. It is the voice of fear, insecurity, comparison. It wants you to rush because it knows that rushing ruins rhythm. But when you stay grounded, when you protect your pace, when you choose strategy over speed, you become unstoppable. You become someone who doesn't just start things. You become someone who finishes them, and not only finishes, but finishes well. Your momentum is sacred. Guard it, build it. Protect it from emotional reactions and impulsive decisions. Feed it with repetition, with routine, with relentless focus. Starve it of doubt, of fear, of the need to impress, and know that the longer you sustain momentum, the more powerful you become, not because everything around you changes instantly, but because you change. You become solid, grounded, and clear, and that clarity becomes your competitive edge in a world of noise and chaos. The future is not built by bursts of action. It is carved, slowly and methodically, through the quiet power of patience. People look at great achievements and marvel at the end result, never understanding that what they see is only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath every success is a foundation built from thousands of small, intentional actions, repeated consistently over time. That is the true nature of patience. It's not passive, it's not weak. It is one of the most disciplined, forceful, and strategic tools available to those who are willing to wield it with intention. Every single day, you make a choice. You either reinforce your future or you delay it, and the tool of reinforcement is not intensity, it is consistency. It is the ability to return to your priorities again and again, even when the excitement fades, even when the reward is nowhere in sight. Patience is not waiting for life to change on its own. Patience is choosing the same effort, the same discipline, the same focus over and over, regardless of what the world gives you in return. People often think they need a massive breakthrough to change their life. What they really need is a steady, unwavering commitment to the basics. They need to embrace the small things that no one claps for, the morning routine, the repeated reps, the studied discipline, the quiet decision to show up one more time when quitting would be easier. The future is built in those moments, not the flashy ones, and it's patience that allows those moments to accumulate into something powerful. The process is not glamorous. There will be days when you question everything, days when you feel like nothing is changing, days when the sacrifices don't seem worth it, but those are the days that matter most, because that's when most people give up. That's when most people trade a long-term future for short-term comfort. But if you stay patient, if you stay locked in, you separate yourself, you begin to move into territory most never reach, simply because you didn't quit when it got boring, when it got hard, when it got quiet. Building the future requires a vision, yes, but vision without patience is a recipe for burnout. What's the point of having a dream if you won't stay long enough to see it become reality? You don't just set a goal and wait for the stars to align. You work, you repeat, you refine, you keep showing up, especially when it feels like nothing is happening. That is where true builders live, in the space between desire and manifestation, in the repetition. In the small, daily investments that no one else sees. Patience gives you the power to master the process, and those who master the process eventually master the outcome. But if you're always focused on the result, you'll rush. You'll take shortcuts, you'll get frustrated, you'll sabotage your progress the moment it slows down, and that's where most people lose. They don't fail because they weren't good enough. They fail because they weren't patient enough. They didn't give their strategy enough time to work. They planted the seed and then dug it up every week to see if it had grown. But growth doesn't work like that. The roots grow before the fruit shows. And that takes time. There is immense strength in staying focused on the process. When you're not chasing applause or rushing success, you become dangerous. You move with precision. You learn in silence. You grow in private, and when the results finally do show up, they're undeniable, because they were earned through patience, not performance. People will call it luck. They'll say you were an overnight success. But you'll know the truth. You didn't just arrive, you endured. Patience is not about being slow. It's about being smart. It's about understanding that consistency compounds. One small action done daily will outperform a massive burst of energy done once and never repeated. The future is built in layers. Each layer requires attention, alignment, and yes, time. And if you try to skip a layer, if you try to force growth before the foundation is ready, you compromise the integrity of the whole structure. That's why so many people collapse under success. They built too fast without the patience to build strong. You have to ask yourself, what kind of future do you want? One that is flashy but fragile? Or one that is solid, deep, and enduring? If you want something that lasts, you must build like it, and that means playing the long game. It means trading urgency for strategy, impulsiveness for discipline. It means taking responsibility not just for the next step, but for every step after that. Patience gives you the foresight to understand that what you do today is shaping what you will live tomorrow. Patience also protects your energy. It keeps you from chasing what doesn't belong to you. In a world that's always pushing you to move faster, grab more, and compare yourself to everyone else, patience keeps you centered. It reminds you that your journey is your own, that timing matters, that what you build with care will always outlast what is built in haste. When you're patient, you stop making decisions based on fear and insecurity. You start making decisions based on vision, values, and wisdom. The quiet truth is this: patience is power, not loud, aggressive power, but quiet, unshakable power, the power to keep building when no one is watching. The power to trust the process when the process is slow, the power to plant today without needing to harvest tomorrow. That kind of patience builds empires, it builds leaders, it builds a life that is not just successful, but significant. If you look at any person who has achieved something meaningful, you'll see the fingerprints of patience all over their journey. You'll see the years of practice before the performance, the countless failures before the win. The silent seasons where they worked while the world slept. That's how greatness is built, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where patience holds the line, and the best part, patience is a skill. It's not something you're born with, it's something you train. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, long-term vision over short-term gratification, you're training your patience, and the stronger it gets, the stronger you become. You no longer depend on circumstances to feel powerful. You carry that power within because you've learned how to wait without weakening. You've learned how to endure without eroding. You've learned how to trust yourself even when the world is silent. That's how the future is built, not through force, not through luck, but through the quiet, determined, patient steps that no one sees, the steps that most people skip. The steps that take time, but lead to everything worth having.